Tapes of Trepidation presents the Campfire Sessions. Hello, dear listeners, and welcome back to the Campfire Sessions, here on Tapes of Trepidation. I'm so happy you've come back to join me by the campfire as more creepy stories are shared. Early on in the Campfire Sessions, we covered several creepy urban legends. Well, tonight, we've got 3 more spooky urban legends for you, starting off with the terrifying legend of the Black-Eyed Children. Black-eyed children are young people with eyes that are solid black, with no difference between their sclera, pupil, or iris, and are occasionally reported to have blue or bluish tinted skin like that of a corpse. Those who report encounters with them often feel that the children were somehow supernatural and extremely dangerous, though they could not explain why. Often, they can be seen playing games and singing the nursery rhyme songs, Old Man Longlegs, and He Jumped into a Bramble Bush. They are usually near abandoned or deserted areas. Sometimes, the reports talk of them appearing at one's doorstep, usually alone or in a pair. They appear to be unusually approaching, yet shy children who avoid your gaze and look down, hiding their eyes, but speaking with an eloquency far beyond their apparent age. Using the mannerisms and speech patterns of an adult, they occasionally even possess the voice of an adult, too. They will usually attempt to talk the victim into allowing them entry into their home to use a telephone, or to be safe from an unspecified danger. Occasionally, when seen outside of the home, they will immediately stop their play and stare at you, or, if possible, approach you, asking for a place to stay or trying to talk you into giving them a ride home. Often, people begin to agree with their request against their better judgment, even though the requests will seem vaguely unsettling, without realizing why it is. Should you discover that their eyes are completely black, the children will become very angry and insistent on you complying with their demands. Some people who have encountered them feel that the children may be using some form of low-level mind control to get them to comply. Experiences involving them generally do not explain the cause of the children's eye color, or the origins of the children themselves. It's thought that they are the spirits of lost or murdered children, while some say they are the harbingers of ill will and personal doom. The encounters frequently emphasize that the children must be voluntarily admitted or invited into the house or car in question, and in this way are reminiscent of some vampire legends. However, it is unspecified what happens should you comply with their demands, as no reports of the black-eyed children have included that happening, possibly indicating the death of those who comply. Voice actor and friend of the show Neal Skorupa joins us by the campfire to share the strange legend of the Blackbird of Chernobyl.
Beginning in early April 1986, the people in and around the little-known Chernobyl nuclear power plant began to report a series of strange events. Sightings of a mysterious creature described as a large, dark, and mutated man with gigantic wings and piercing red eyes. Those affected by the phenomenon experienced horrific nightmares, threatening phone calls, and first-hand encounters with the winged beast. It came to be known as the Blackbird of Chernobyl. Reports of these strange happenings continued to increase until the morning of April 26, 1986. At 1:23 a.m., Reactor 4 of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant suffered a catastrophic steam explosion. The blast caused a fire, which triggered a series of additional explosions, followed by a nuclear meltdown. The plant, located near Pripyat, Ukraine, then part of the Soviet Union, released a massive plume of radioactive fallout. The radiation drifted over parts of the Western Soviet Union, Eastern and Western Europe, Scandinavia, the UK, Ireland, and even Eastern North America. Large areas of Ukraine, Belarus, and Russia were badly contaminated, leading to the evacuation and resettlement of over 336,000 people. The Chernobyl disaster is considered the world's worst accident in the history of nuclear power. After the explosion, Soviet helicopters were dispatched to the scene. Equipped with firefighting gear, they circled the plant, dropping clay, sand, lead, and other chemicals onto the burning reactor. Most of the fire was extinguished by 5 a.m., though the fire inside Reactor 4 continued to burn for several more hours. The firefighters, unaware of the true nature of the blaze, assumed it was simply an electrical fire. They received massive doses of radiation. Many of them died. One of them was Lieutenant Vladimir Pravik, who passed away on May 9, 1986. Workers who survived the initial blast and fire, but later died from radiation poisoning, claimed to have seen a large, black, bird-like creature with a wingspan of over 20 feet gliding through the irradiated smoke pouring from the damaged reactor. After the disaster, no further sightings of the Blackbird of Chernobyl were ever reported. This left researchers to wonder, what did the workers actually see, and what haunted them in those final days before the meltdown? The most widely accepted theory suggests that the Blackbird of Chernobyl may have been the same creature spotted in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, just before the collapse of the Silver Bridge on December 15, 1967. Some believe this creature is an omen, a harbinger of disaster, appearing in the places where tragedy is about to strike. The descriptions of both creatures, the Blackbird of Chernobyl and the Mothman of West Virginia, are strikingly similar. In both cases, witnesses reported disturbing nightmares and threatening phone calls in the days leading up to the catastrophe. Another theory, less accepted, suggests that the blackbird was nothing more than a misidentified black stork. This endangered bird, native to southern Eurasia, stands nearly 3 feet tall and has a wingspan of around 6 feet. But this theory fails to explain the nightmares, the phone calls, and the dramatic eyewitness accounts. Most who saw the blackbird insist it looked nothing like a stork. Since those tragic events, neither the Blackbird of Chernobyl nor the Mothman has been seen again. And so we are left with many unanswered questions. All we can do is wait. Wait for the creature to show itself again and give us another chance to understand what it truly is. Though if it does appear, it will likely mean that another disaster is about to unfold.
Our final tale this evening is the story of a doll. Sounds innocent enough, right? Join me in sharing the legend of Robert the Doll. In the late 1800s, Thomas Otto and his family moved into a mansion in the corner of Eaton and Summerton Streets in Key West, Florida, now known as the Artist House. The Ottos were known to be stern with their servants, sometimes even mistreating them. It was the treatment of one such Haitian servant that provides the twist in this story. The woman was hired to take care of their son, Robert. One day, Mrs. Otto supposedly witnessed her practicing black magic in their backyard and fired her. Before she left, the woman gave Robert a lifelike doll which stood 3 feet tall, had buttons for eyes, human hair, believed to be Robert's, and was filled with straw. Dolls that resembled children were not unheard of during this time, but this one proved to be special. Robert named the doll after himself and often dressed it in his clothes. Robert, the doll, became his trustworthy companion. He took it with him on shopping trips into town, and the doll had a seat at the dinner table, where Robert would sneak it bites of his food when his parents weren't looking. Robert would even be tucked into bed with the boy at night. Soon after, Robert chose to be referred to by his middle name, Gene, after being scolded by his mother. He told her that Robert was the doll's name, not his. Gene was often heard in his toy room having conversations with Robert. Gene would say something in a childish manner, and a response could be heard in a much lower voice. Sometimes, Gene would become very agitated, worrying his servants and mother. She would, on occasion, burst in to find her son cowering in a corner while Robert stayed perched in a chair or on the bed glaring at him. This was only the beginning. Household objects would be found thrown across the room. Gene's toys turned up mutilated, and giggling would be heard. Whenever these unusual acts took place, Gene would always say, "Robert did it." The boy took the punishment, but always insisted that the blame was Robert's. As the mischief grew, more and more servants took their leave as new ones were hired. The Otto's relatives felt it was time to do something. With the recommendation of a great aunt, Gene's parents removed Robert from his care and placed him in a box in the attic. This is where he resided for many years. After the death of his father, Gene was willed his boyhood home. He decided to live in the Victorian mansion with his new wife. He had become an artist and felt the house was spacious and would provide a place for him to paint. He went to the attic and dusted off his old childhood toy. He became attached to the doll, despite his wife's displeasure. He would take the doll along with them everywhere they went. He even sat in his favorite little chair while Gene and his wife slept nearby. The turret room became Robert's domain after Mrs. Otto moved him back to the attic. Their marriage slowly became sour, until Mrs. Otto supposedly went insane and died for unknown reasons. Gene followed soon behind her. Robert supposedly attacked people, sometimes locking them in the attic. People who passed by claimed to hear evil laughter coming from the turret room. For some time, Robert remained in the empty house by himself, until a new family purchased the mansion and restored it. The doll was once again moved to the attic. This pleased it as much as the last time. The doll was often found throughout the house. On one certain night, Robert was found at the foot of the owner's bed, giggling, with a kitchen knife in hand. This was enough to send them fleeing from the home. Robert was later moved to the East Martello Museum in Key West, where he now sits perched in a glass box. Despite his new living quarters, the doll is believed not to have given up his menacing ways. Visitors and employees claim they have seen him move. His smile has been known to turn to a scowl. One employee cleaned Robert, turned off the lights, and left for the night. The next day, he returned to find the lights on, Robert sitting in a different position, and the fresh layer of dust on his shoes. Some say he'll even curse you. If you want to take a picture of him, you must ask politely. He'll tilt his head in permission. However, if he doesn't, and you take the picture anyways, a curse will befall upon you and anyone who accompanied you to the museum. The same will happen if you make fun of him. To this day, Robert remains at the East Martello Museum in his sailor suit, clutching his stuffed lion, continuing his menacing ways. Thank you so much for joining me this evening for the 7th edition of the Campfire Sessions, here on Tapes of Trepidation. I hope you had as much fun as I did sitting around the campfire while these stories were shared. The stories featured on this edition were The Black-Eyed Children, a retelling of the classic urban legend, which was written by an unknown author and was originally posted on the Creepypasta Wiki. The Blackbird of Chernobyl, a retelling of the classic urban legend, written by CrashingCymbal, and was originally posted on the Creepypasta Wiki. Guest narration for the story was by Neal Skorupa of Neroticvoice. You can find an email to contact him in the show notes. Robert the Doll is a retelling of the classic urban legend by an unknown author and was posted on the Creepypasta Wiki. The Tapes of Trepidation theme and the wonderful acoustic version you're currently hearing was written and performed by JM Scherf. If you need any custom music or stock music, JM is the man and is awesome to work with. You'll find a link to contact him in the show notes. All logos, banners, overlays, including the brand new Campfire Sessions overlay, were done by the incredible Jason Rees from Jaybird Digital Arts. If you need any kind of graphic design work done, Jason is your guy. You'll find a link to contact him in the show notes. If you enjoyed what you heard, consider subscribing, leaving a rating, and following Tapes of Trepidation on social media. You can find a link tree in our show notes. And while you're at it, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to check out the rest of the content here on Tapes of Trepidation. We normally do things a little differently, with some extra music and sound design, but the one constant is the wonderful, creepy stories. I feel like we've got a good mix. Something for pretty much everybody. So be sure to check it out. And if you feel like supporting the show a little more, consider joining the Tapes of Trepidation Patreon. With as little as $5 a month, you can gain access to monthly bonus short story narrations, the weekly behind-the-scenes podcast within the archive, a weekly shout-out, and more at higher tiers. So come, join us, and become trapped within the archive, just like my current patrons: Doozer Pin Dan, Ronan Komori, Eric Phones, Patrick Stewart, Madam Strangeways, Dr. Torment, Tori, and Queen Cam. Thank you all so much for the support. All content used on Tapes of Trepidation is either original, used with permission, or is available on your Creative Commons by Share-alike license. Licensing information can be found in the show notes. Now, I think it's best if you head out for the night, as the fire is starting to die out. And you never know what may be lurking nearby in the dark. Hope to see you next time.